If the memory of Jason still haunts you, you're not alone. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
Severe trauma at age 12. Brutal self-defense, murder of a psychopathic killer. Boy, they've given him every therapy they can think of. It's a wonder his mind isn't fried with all the drugs they've given him.
The mindless, murderous fury that was buried with Jason has been reborn.
Pete!
And suddenly, terror has become child's play. Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
What me and Kevin did, I think one of the biggest thrills for me is talking to people like you that were in the 80s, because I was born in 68, so the 80s was my, was my grown-up years. I mean, Avenging Angel, the Friday the 13th, the Halloweens in the 70s and the 80s. So when I talk to somebody like you that's from the era, we're close in age, and to be able to talk to people who are in my youth, it's fascinating to me. So I want to say thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you.
Yep. Kevin, take it away.
I really wanted to tell you, Deborah, why that I really wanted to have you on, and I really want to talk about what you did in the past and what you're doing now, because I really first got acquainted with you as far as, of course, Friday the 13th, Part 5, which you have the distinction of being in one of the most debated installments of the Friday the 13th franchise. There is no middle ground on it. You either love it or you hate it. I happen to like it, and I always like to talk with people that have a different opinion on it. But one thing that I notice about you is that you are always so refreshingly positive. You really are. And we'll talk about it a little bit later, but you in the interview, and I'm talking about Camp Crystal Lake Memories, the book about Friday the 13th. When everybody was talking about Part 5, you were one of the few that had favorable comments about your experience. It was you and the guy that played Demon, and he's been in a lot of stuff. But I thought it was really ironic that you had the most positive view on it, and you had the hardest job of anybody in the whole movie. You had the most difficult scenes. So I want to tell you that I have a lot of high regard for you and all the other stuff you did too, because you really have a positive outlook on things, even in some of the negative things that have happened to you. And I've read about you extensively in preparation for this, and I dig your attitude. I said all that to say this. I really like your style.
Well, thank you. That's really kind of you.
I wanted you to talk about your career, and I also wanted to just catch up on how have you been? What are you up to now? And I want to give her some props. She has quietly conquered not only film and television, but also the literary world and academia. How's that? Did I nail that okay, Deborah?
That's right.
Bravo, Deborah.
Thank you.
Well, the question I want to ask you, Deborah, to get started is, I know we don't ask this question, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with it because you are an 80s actress, and I know apparently you must have left the film for a while to pursue a career and family life. But The Innocent Prey is a film that I have, which I have not watched yet, believe it or not. May I ask you, how did you get started I mean, basically, let's back this question up. What was your experience like to step on a film set in '84 in that era? What was your experience like, even if it's a small part, but what was your experience like on your first go-around on the big screen?
Well, it was first of all just, when I left acting, what I did was I went to journalism. I went to college and graduated in the top 5% of my class and became a journalist with the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and then the Dallas Morning News and then Modern Luxury Magazine and Front Desk Magazine. And I covered arts and entertainment. In the 80s, when I very first started out in film, it was before '84. I believe it was '81. I'd have to check to make sure. I was working at the Playboy Club. I was a bunny in Dallas, and I had a chance to work on the Dallas set. And I started out with a small waitress role. I was a bartender. I was a waitress.
Yeah, wow.
And I ended up working with them for 2 summers as a stand-in when they were in Dallas, and then over a period of time, I did 7 small speaking roles on the show, and it was a lot of fun. I loved working with the cast of Dallas. Everybody was so nice and very accessible, and Larry Hagman was adorable. He used to sing when I'd come on set. Instead of Peggy Sue, he sang Debbie Sue. It was really nice. Of course, it was extremely exciting. I was actually at the Playboy Club when the Dallas show was coming on for me, so I could see, because that was back in the time when you had to watch it while the show was on as opposed to being able to get it whenever.
Right.
And
wow.
And then, I just continued. I guess I did that for, like I said, for a couple of years here and, here I'm saying I'm not even in Dallas anymore, but in the Dallas area, and then I moved out to Los Angeles. And I guess living in Los Angeles, that first time out there, I have to say it was the only time in my life I've ever felt like I was in a foreign country. In Mexico, it seemed much more like home, and in Canada, I hadn't been a lot of places, but I've been in Canada and Mexico and several different places around the U.S., and it was just such another world. It's like, falling down the rabbit hole, not in a bad way, but just in a surreal way.
Right.
What is this crazy place they call Hollywood? I have to say I'm glad that I went. I loved my time there. But it was also, probably time to go when I decided to come back and go to school. It was a difficult decision to make because I hadn't been back for but a couple of weeks when I got a call to go on to the set of Days of Our Lives. And that was... Days of Our Lives, that's right. And I had been on the show before, and that was a lot of fun. I liked the way that soap operas are set up. You have 3 cameras. I never, ever got to see the director because he was up in a booth somewhere. All I heard was the voice booming down. But it was close to being doing stage work. And I thought it was amazing how fast the characters learned their lines. Every day they came in with a brand new set of scripts and stuff. I thought, my gosh, this is really got to be intense, hard work, especially for the lead. And you really have to hit your mark because the camera, cuts are going with you as you film. So that was a really interesting experience. But they called me in. They said basically that there were 3 women being considered for the role. And my agent, however accurate this was or was not, said basically it was mine if I wanted it. That was a tough decision, but I did decide to go to school. Who knows, what I've not chosen that, but I am, very happy for my time in school. And I went on after after working as a journalist, and I got my teaching certification, taught British literature, which I'm a complete Shakespeare geek. And so, you know, a lot of that, who knows if I would have found Shakespeare or not, or if I would have ended up writing, or what would have happened, who knows. But I've enjoyed writing my screenplays, and now I'm producing and directing. I did Billy Shakespeare, which is one that I wrote and directed, and it's about William Shakespeare never existed until now. And that one's available both on Amazon and on IndieRain.com. And now I am finishing up with an independent film. The writer is Tom Sime, which, you know, I probably wouldn't be doing this for sure because I met Tom Sime. He was a theater critic at the Dallas Morning News. Very talented writer. I love his, it's a dark comedy, and I love how that's what he writes. It's dark comedy. It's one of my favorite genres. And it's about a socialite who becomes morbidly fascinated with an ex-con's murderous past. And it's a lot of fun. And I love directing. It's incredibly intense, especially since I do the indie film, which means that I'm wearing numerous hats at one time.
Sure.
I would love the chance to direct a film where I had somebody in all the roles so I could just concentrate on being the director.
I got a feeling.
So, yeah. But it's very exciting, and I've I directed a stage play as well. I'd like to do some more stage. This time with a group of people that are a little bit more dedicated to their time. I got into the 18th rehearsal date, and I had yet to have my cast complete.
Oh, wow.
Everybody had stuff they were doing.
Yeah.
I am way too intense a personality for that kind of situation. That does not work for me.
Well, I think Kevin can agree I'm very similar.
Definitely.
So now, I know it's probably, I don't know how it was perceived later on in life, but Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, the scene that you had, I'm sure, we talked to Terry McMinn, who was on the Texas on Massacre from 74. Me and Kevin and John Gillen interviewed her. And the scene that she did is not far like your scene was, but it seems like she acted like that role never existed. Remember, Kevin?
Yes.
And then when people start finding out about it, she had to talk about it. But she was, like, embarrassed about it for years, but she wouldn't go to any conventions. And then eventually, I guess, a couple of years ago, she finally came to her senses, that's what she said. She goes to these conventions, and then she realized that this film is bigger than what she ever thought it was. Now, with your scene in Friday the 13th, and in the early 80s and the 80s, nudity was a big thing in horror films because that's just the way it is to attract younger generations to watch your films.
Right.
Now, has that, I mean, if I'm trying to tell me, I don't know, I'm on the fly here asking this question, did that scene affect you in any way later on in life to where...
No.
No?
No, I'll tell you why. One, life is way too short to regret.
Right.
Or, I mean, we all can look back on our life and wonder, well, what would have happened if I'd made this choice or that choice or whatever. But, to actually spend and waste your time regretting something that you've done, it's crazy. Has it caused me difficulties in my life? Yeah, it has. I was thrown out of 2 high schools, and that was devastating for me because, I love teaching. I was an extremely intense teacher. I expected 150% from everybody, as I expected from myself. And, I was definitely coloring outside the lines as a teacher, but it went from, my principal and such coming to me, and they literally told me that I was the kind of teacher they write movies about. And then as the second he finds out, I get canned. It's like, I'm still a good teacher. I honestly, when I went into teaching, it never occurred to me that that would be an issue. But, I've had interesting experiences because of the choices I've made in all things I've done. I've had many opportunities to make more money than I have, but I can't say that it would have given me a better life. I did graduate very high in my class, and, I could have been working in a corporation, doing, I'm sorry, things that I would find absolutely mind-numbingly boring. I did an internship with a big corporation, and I thought I would lose my mind. Everybody was like little clones, and they're wearing all these same little outfits every day, and I tried to dress conservative every day, and it was like my third day from time for me to leave. And I thought, I'm just going to spice it up a little bit. And I wore a skirt a whole 4 inches above my knee. Oh, my goodness. Yes, and it was pink. And I'm not kidding you. I was completely ostracized.
Really?
I was like, yes. And I mean, from that moment on, I was ostracized. And it was like they could not wait to get me out that door. Up till then, I was a genius. I was wonderful. I was helping them. I was like, people are stepping into the wrong thing. And so if somebody has a problem because they think that I did something inappropriate, well, I don't know. I think maybe they're the ones with the problem, not me.
Well, God bless you, Deborah. God bless you. Because, just hearing that story, come on, you're an actress at the time.
Right.
Come on, people. Look what's going on in the neighborhood alone here in Pennsylvania. 5 teachers was arrested for molestation or having an affair with their students. We all do things in our past where it was, at the time, it's exciting. You get a big break in the movie industry or anything. And sometimes, which I get it too, something that I've done in the past that seems to always come back and bite you in the ass, even though it's not that bad. But in somebody else's eyes who has a board stuck up their ass, use my language, they think the world revolves around their choice or their opinion or their thoughts. So God bless you for telling that story. You yourself, you just said it. What you've done, it is what it is. But it doesn't, you're a fighter like I am. I'm going through a lot of ordeals right now in my own personal life. But you're strong-willed like I am, I can tell, and you fight through it. So I just want to say God bless you for sticking to your guns and doing what you love and dealing with the consequences, if there is any, later on down.
Right. Well, there's so many things that I can do that are much, much more exciting than to adhere to the most conservative mindset. Talk about boring.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sold insurance all my life, and and one of the things I told your life is really made up of your stories, because the moment you live the story is very, very short. But I asked a student of mine one time, what is more important? That I said, what would be the better story? She was very upset for me. And granted, believe me, I was very upset too. I said, what is a better story for me to tell? That I worked as a teacher for 30 years and retired, or that I was thrown out of 2 high schools for having my tits on the internet? What's the better story? You tell me.
Like I said, unrelentingly positive. I totally admire that.
Wow.
So she's like, oh.
Do you know, it's funny you said that, but do you know, kids look at that stuff anyways. I get that.
I know. It's like, the reality is that after it came out, when I was here working in New Mexico, it's in the same town I'm living at now, and they thought I was going to run away in shame. It's like, those are tits. We all have them. 50%, more than 50% of the population has it. Get over it.
That's right. And my kids will circulate today, damn it.
But you know what? the boys all of a sudden needed so much help with their grammar. They started coming in to be tutored, to get help. I know what they just wanted to talk and ask me questions about that time. That's okay. So what? Mm-hmm. But what they were doing instead, they were being incredibly polite, more polite than they'd ever been in the classroom. And they were sitting there listening, taking notes. You know, use it to the advantage. That's what I did.
Exactly.
He pulled up on his cell phone. They were text messaging my boobs around the classroom. Well, I'm in the middle of a grammar lesson. And I looked over there, and I go, yeah, those are mine. Put them away. Back to the lesson. That takes a little composure. Somebody else, might fall apart. But it's like, I don't know. It's just a very strange world that we live in. It's a world of judgment. And it's not... what exactly is wrong with boobs? I don't get it. I really don't.
I know. It's like, oh my God, her boobs are too beautiful. We can't have her with her hair because mine. I'm not compatible to hers. Let's fire her. I'm being facetious, but you get my point.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think it's just there's such a heavy conservative element, but it's like, why? I don't know. I think there was at some point in my life where I just I feel like I woke up and I realized that everybody's just making stuff up. I used to think that if I looked long enough, I could find somebody with the right answers. And one day I was like, you know what? Nobody has the answer. Not a single person, there's not a single philosophy, there's not a single religion that has a clue what's going on. And for men, it was like so freeing because it was like, okay, well, they don't know any more than I do. I've got my best guess, and it's as good as theirs.
Crazy.
But why somebody decides that something like that, I mean, I would like to do maybe like a short or something on the idea of a society that views maybe the hands as being obscene, and just show how ridiculous the whole thing is, this idea, just to pick a part of the body and decide that it's obscene.
All right. Well, I got a documentary for you that you and I can work on.
What's that?
I got a great title for it. It's called Boobs versus Education.
And what is it about?
Not being facetious, but I mean, look at the commercials today. I mean, they're not showing boobies on TV, but they're showing them wearing bras. I mean, come on. I mean, my grandsons are 5 and 6, and they go, "Oh, boobies." I mean. Think about that. I mean, Kevin, I'm sure your kids. I'm sure. Oh, boobies.
Well, I have.
It's a fact of life.
I have 2 young sons, and me and one of my friends were talking about it the other day. If you wanted to see boobies back when I was growing up, it was an ordeal. I remember us sneaking in to try to see the Madonna Penthouse, if you guys remember that. And it was an ordeal. I mean, you had to get over kind of on the side of the magazine rack where the guy at the cash register wouldn't see you. And now if my boys want to see boobs, they can just pick up the iPad. We're still careful about what they watch and what they see, but I don't shelter them to the point to where if they did see boobs that it would just blow their mind and they wouldn't know how to handle it. They're going to see so many. And, actually my oldest son, I've already had the talk with him, and he's very young. I never got the talk when I was growing up. I always thought I'm going to do one better with him. I did it tastefully, of course, but, appreciate it and respect women because they're going to see all these things out there, and if they didn't see them with somebody who can explain it to them, they're not going to know how to handle it when it does come up unexpectedly and they're on their own or they're with somebody who is not going to explain it to them. So that's my take on it, Deborah. I think, and I don't know. I would like to say that if this happened now and you were in a film where, you did have nude scenes and you were a teacher after the fact, that situation wouldn't come up now. But, I kind of think it would. Because
we're talking about, this is from the last 5 years is my teaching problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's changed that much.
In Dallas, they just fired a woman, I understand, because she was a centerfold. Yeah, for teaching. So it's very much alive and well. Narrow-mindedness is very much alive and well. It's not going away. I'm saying that, that narrow-mindedness it just is something that is a part of our world for whatever reason. And I guess maybe there's some good in it, in that you must have narrow-mindedness in order to have more expanded minds.
Then let's go this angle. It's double standards what it is. I mean, if they would have made money from the pictures of your boobs, you would have been fired. Bottom line, it's politics. It's money.
and
schools making money off of them.
I value your opinion on this because, I mean, you were in the trenches when, number one, you were naturally attractive, naturally voluptuous, and you were in a time where whenever you did go out to get any kind of an acting gig, you always run the risk of being exploited because of the way you looked. And anything you say about this, I value it extremely, because I know you ran into that from time to time. And it's like I said, I was so amazed by all your commentary on Friday the 13th Part 5, because you were like, well, it was uncomfortable to do, but all in all, it was a good experience. And I read an interview where you said the same thing that you just said now, to where you don't have any regrets about it, because regrets are a waste of time, and anything that you've done has that maybe you should have had a regret about got you to a better place.
Well, I learned a lot being on film sets. I learned about, I didn't just sit there and do nothing. Just do my role. I paid attention, and I watched what the director was doing, how they were doing camera angles, what was going on. And so I learned a lot. I wouldn't be directing now, I don't think, without that time and that experience. And, my time there, I learned about how they did, the makeup and stuff, going in and having the mask put on and shaped and made that would eventually look like, my nose had been broken from the eyes poked out and stuff. And, there were interesting things going on. It wasn't sitting in some receivables department at some corporation that, maybe they would have decided that I was, quote, respectable, but, God, what a price to pay for respectability. To be bored to death, and I loved my time as a journalist, and my writing has, I've written 7 screenplays and a novel, and everything that I've done in Hollywood is a part of my story and a part of my narrative that gives me things to write about. Imagine if I had been in nothing but accounts and receivable, what the hell am I going to write about? It's not that I have to write about that specific thing, but, as a journalist, I had, interesting, something new, something different every day. It was a different story. I was picking my stories. I was doing the stuff I wanted to do, or probably only maybe 2% of the time did something my boss asked me to do. Most of the time I just pitched my stories and I went with them.
Do you get recognized a lot now?
Sometimes I do, not that often, but I was going through the bank, and a friend of mine had written me a check, and his name happens to be Michael Myers. And she saw Voorhees and Myers together, and the lady just couldn't stop laughing.
Love it.
Yeah, and I'm just sitting there smiling because she didn't know that I was in Friday the 13th. Yeah, funny coincidence, huh?
I love Part 5. It's one of my favorites, and like I said, it's either a love it or a hate it type thing. But it was actually pretty clever. I remember when it first came out, after the final chapter. Of course, then I was naive enough to think that even though the final chapter made a lot of money, that it really was the final chapter. And then for the new beginning to start up again, I was super excited about it, and it was different. They did a lot of really clever things that nobody picks up on. Like every time Tommy sees Jason, it's the hockey mask with the red on it, like the traditional Jason mask. And anytime Jason is seen, the imposter Jason, the mask has blue on it. There was a lot of things going on, and I know everybody. I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people spoke ill of Danny Steinman, the director. But I really think he knew what he was doing on that, and it seems like you had a good impression of him. And I think he's since passed away recently, but he seemed like he had a vision for it.
Yeah, there was a lot of, kind of, I noticed, I was kind of surprised on a couple different situations where, some people involved in Friday the 13th Part 5 or that were not involved, that were supposed to be or had at one time plans on being, are still bitter. It's like, wow, life must be really to still be worrying about this. Okay. But I don't know. Everybody's different, and it's kind of strange.
I will say that was the worst halfway house for teens.
The only reason that I got the role was because I had big boobs, and I was like, no, actually, that wasn't why. And it was somebody not even in the film, and didn't know anything about me or anything about the role or why I got it. I got it was because I understood something that was just so completely basic. Her boyfriend is asking her to go have sex in the woods. Mm-hmm. You're going to be pissed? I don't think so. You might be hesitant because, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to stay out, but you're not going to be pissed. And that was it. That was the whole reason. And then I just liked the way that I worked it. And, and then there was, weird things on the set where I don't even know how it got started. It was about that the scene had been overshot or something. It was like, I don't know. It was all confusing because I was like, none of that ever happened. There was a place where somebody said that Danny was yelling out on set, grab her ass, grab her boob. Never happened.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah, I think that's
totally
actually
respected.
Yeah, that was actually in the book.
It was like, it didn't happen. It absolutely did not happen. He could not have been more respectful. He was, he made sure I had a robe. He made sure that everything was just fine. Never, ever once did those words come from his lips. And I was like, that was like completely fabricated. Why would somebody want to fabricate something like that?
Makes news.
I guess so. It's crazy. I don't know that it was, I'm not suggesting that the writer fabricated it, but, either, it would have had to have been the writer or the person quoted. But, I don't have any reason to believe that the writer, would write it without it being, but why did somebody want to say that? I don't know. It's strange.
I actually think in the book that it said they were watching like the dailies of it, and you could hear the director in the background yelling some things, pretty much a little worse than what you said actually. And they were, the producer Frank Mancuso Jr. was really shocked because it was one step above softcore porn, and he was yelling all these obscenities out. So I'm glad to hear you say that it wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't anything like that. And it was definitely nothing close to softcore porn. Nothing like that. It was just, that's just, I don't know, strange people.
Like I said, I've read a lot about you. Did you do anything after Friday the 13th Part 5, or did you go back to school immediately after doing Part 5?
Let me think. I think it was, but I left pretty much, let's see. Yeah, I really did. I left pretty much after that because it was 86. Mm-hmm. That was the same year I went back to Texas to get my college degree. So, yeah. It just, for me, one of the things that I saw there, and I think this is really kind of gets down to some of the reasons why, I don't know, people felt the need to make things up. There's just really sad desperation in Hollywood as women age. I saw women, in their 40s at the time trying to compete with us in our 20s, early 20s. And, they were getting the tummy tucks and the boob jobs, and they were going to the tanning booth and, coming in, with baby oil and, the glitter on, trying to still look, like they could handle, a sex pot role. And I really felt for these women that, to feel so desperate that your job, your livelihood requires you to retain this look. And I was like, I don't want to fight age. I've let my hair go gray. I'm 53. Very healthily, salt and pepper. And it is just so much pressure. And I was just like, I don't want to be that woman. I don't want to be that woman who is feeling desperate to, and you'll see the actresses today when they overdo, they're on their fourth or fifth facelift, and they don't look like a human anymore. That to me is really sad. That somebody would feel that desperate, and I think that's what it is. There's something about Hollywood being in film and having so much right on how you look that really drives people to trying to hang on to youth that it's absolutely impossible. You can't do it. And that's what really made me decide that I really wanted my education, and I wanted to be a writer.
I think you made the right choice because it seems like everything is coming back around now. You're doing film, you're writing, and I will be 42 this year, and I wouldn't want to go back. I'm kind of in the same boat as you for every seemingly bad choice that I made that perhaps may have been a missed opportunity. I might have missed out on the place where I'm at now. So it sounds like you feel that way too.
Absolutely. Yeah, whatever it is that you do or you do not choose, it doesn't matter. It does, what you do choose, and part of what you don't choose does become a part of who you are. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing.
I knew you would wax a little philosophical on here, so I'm kind of glad you did. You were also on a show that I love too, and I got to get a plug for this show because it's an old show by now, but it was so cool. Riptide, you were on Riptide. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, I was.
What's going to bring that up?
That one was just a plain fun set to be on.
I bet it was. Joe Penny.
The jumping, when we were jumping up and down on the bed, it was just like, wow, I'm being paid for this.
It was great. It had, of course, Joe Penny, and it had Perry King, I think was his name. And it had the guy, I've only seen him in one other thing. I don't think he acts anymore. I actually think he teaches. But, man, that was a great show.
I never got to see it.
And I don't think you've seen any of the Fridays either, have you?
No, well, I've seen mine, mm-hmm. But yeah, no, not the others. I don't. I think everybody knows I don't like horror movies. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, ironically, most people don't that are in them. That's not uncommon. That they've done one in a series and have never seen any of the others except the one that they're in, and they just don't like horror movies.
I am genuinely scared. I tried to watch. Somebody had told me that I should watch the American Horror Story, and I thought, surely I'm 53. I'm over this scared of boo. No, I'm not. No, I made it through the first episode. It was starting, and I think I got about 10 seconds into it. All it takes for me is that camera moving down a hall with that noise like somebody might jump out, and I'm just like, oh no, no, I can't do this. I can't do this.
Wow.
Which one did you watch? Was it the one the very first season?
I got 10 seconds into the first episode. That's it.
Yeah, it got way worse from there.
They start playing that music, and I'm dead. I'm out of there.
Yeah, it got way worse from there, so it was probably the right decision.
Yes, I'll just stick with where I am. Now, and I've thought about it, I want to try and move past the stereotype.
Well, I wanted to ask
and maybe do like a ghost story as a director, because I have a good fan base. It would be a good thing for me to do a scary show.
Well, that was my next question. Would you do another horror movie, either in front of or behind the camera? So I'm glad you mentioned that.
I mean, directing it, I think it could be really interesting. Being on the set of a horror film is not scary.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing scary about it. You have to make it seem like it's scary or whatever it is. I mean, there's nothing more artificial than film work. And that's one of the things that makes it so hard for an actor. And that's one of the things that I would have really liked to do. I'd like to do some more teaching. I have taught acting for film, but I would like to do some more of it, because in all the acting classes that I had, nobody really concentrated and explained to you what you were going to need to know and understand to go out for film. Because you may be talking to somebody that's not even there. And you're in a situation where there is absolutely zero zilch anything scary going on, but yet you have to look like you're scared. And actors aren't prepared for that. It's much more natural to act on stage, because you start at the beginning of a play and you go to the end of the play. In a film, you're going from the beginning to the middle to 10 minutes into 45 minutes into, and you have to keep track of where you're supposed to be in your emotions, and that's hard.
It is.
For a lead that has to tackle that, that's really tough work. You might be shoot your ending first, and if you don't have a clear idea of your trajectory to get there, you might have done it wrong.
Right.
And so I don't know. I absolutely love working with actors that show up. If they don't show up, I am an absolute bear.
You're the avenging angel, right?
There you go, exactly. That was a fun set, too. I enjoyed that.
That was a cool movie. I saw that one before I actually saw the original one, so I liked it better than the original. But I didn't even know you were in that. It had been a while since I saw it, and I went back and watched it, and had no idea. I love that movie, though. You're great in it.
Oh, thank you. That was definitely fun to be in. Well, there's also one a neat story that I like too, that it would have never been able to have. But on, do you remember Mystic Pizza? Mystic Pizza.
Oh yeah,
the film that was what Julia Roberts got her start in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It was she, I, and one other woman who were down for that lead role.
Oh,
for
wow.
the final three. I think that's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
I don't mind losing out to that woman.
No. If you have to lose out to somebody, that's a pretty good one to lose out
if
to.
you're going to get your butt kicked, getting kicked by Julia Roberts is not bad.
Yeah, there you go.
It's supposed to be in the final three. I'm a happy camper. Yeah. But, it's... I really enjoy directing, though. It's such a neat experience. I mean, it is incredibly tense. The hours are ungodly long, but boy, do I love it.
Is that kind of a passion that you want to pursue now more so? That it seems like you're pretty diversified, and you kind of go on a tangent to where you'll write, and then maybe you're doing film work now. Is directing kind of going to be the natural progression, kind of what you're going to end up doing the majority of your time here in the near future, hopefully?
I think so. Anything to do with, I've done some music videos. I've got a guy coming from New York. He's actually, he's a rapper, and he raps Shakespeare's sonnets. I live out in the middle of New Mexico. I don't know if you know.
And Scott said he hated rap. When you were saying you could have sold insurance, I was going to tell you that I sold insurance, but I really don't. But
what I like about it, and that's not, I can't say it's my favorite genre of music. However, what I do like about it, first of all, I believe that all words are valid. And I don't care if somebody's cursing up a storm. I don't know, are there any cursing rules on your podcast?
No. I usually try to keep it fairly clean.
I don't care if somebody's like, fuck this or bitch this or bastard or whatever the hell it is. I really don't care. I don't care. If that word is the best word to get across the message, then that's okay. You look at Shakespeare. I'm a complete Shakespeare geek. I love the man's words. But he has curse words all over his text. It's just not what we're accustomed to as curse words. So we mistakenly think that he's not, cursing. And, if you look at, the scene with Hamlet when he's in the bedroom with his mother, and I've had people argue with me that there was no sexual tension between the mother and the son. And I was like, really? When was the last time you talked to your mother about not allowing a man to take his penis and stick it in your vagina and leaving a wet spot on the bed? When did you ever do that with your mother? Because that's essentially what's being said. And you didn't know it. So it seemed okay to you. But they play that in school, no problem. Because they don't know what it means.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you think in that when they said the end seems bad?
I wanted to ask you too, and I don't know a lot about Billy Shakespeare, but it sounds really interesting. And of course, you said the premise was Shakespeare is here now, and he's trying to get his writing noticed. Is it an issue of he's just as brilliant, but he's in a different time to where it's getting a different reception? I bet that's a very interesting concept.
Well, what I couldn't help but once I started really getting involved with Shakespeare, it was because I was, covering arts and entertainment, and so I was going to theater all the time. And I started seeing these wonderful Shakespeare productions, and I got so interested, I sat down with, the entire canon, which I don't know if you've ever seen the full canon book, but I had one of those big, giant, thick ones, and I put that down on my lap, and I opened to page 1, and I kept going until I got to the end. Anyway, I just couldn't help but laugh about my time in Hollywood and Shakespeare, because he is the most popular playwright still, or screenwriter still. But what if he didn't exist? What if he didn't have that reputation that said he was the most brilliant writer in the English language? What if he were walking in with his work? How would he be rejected? Because I had to laugh so many times at reasons I was rejected for different parts. And it was really comical at times. One role was I was going in for, and I was supposed to be kind of an innocent 16-year-old, and so I went in and, I looked like I could be 16, and I was a baby face. They loved my acting. They thought it was brilliant. But I was supposed to be innocent. And, she has big boobs. Really? God, whether I'm innocent or not, really, honestly. And another one, it was a situation where I was supposed to be intelligent. So I bound down my boobs a little bit, which was not easy. And, went in there, put my hair back, and put on glasses, eliminated makeup and stuff, trying to be that character that they were describing. And once again, they loved me. They thought it was great. But I was supposed to be intelligent. Well, I had big boobs. And I was like, wow, this is just too funny. Never mind that I have an IQ of 145. And never once as my breasts were growing did I lose any of those IQ points. They actually stayed with me. And that's a little known fact that people don't know, is that when your breast size increase, it does not take away from your brain capacity. Shocking, isn't it? So I'm thinking with Billy Shakespeare and imagining, you know, and as a writer myself, you know, I used to have an agent, Nick Reed, with ICM. And, you know, of course, that was one of those moments when I thought, oh, wow, I finally have made it. And he took me on his pet project. He said that he loved my style of writing, and it was, you know, wordy. And I just thought, well, if my stuff's wordy, they would really think that William Shakespeare's work was wordy. And so he goes into producer's office. What can I say, Will? You're wordy. And he goes in and he starts reading part of the Hamlet and talking about, you know, giving some of the dialogue. And it's, you know, it's beautiful. This guy's reading it like it's just absolute shit. He said, get to the point. You're a fucking whore, mother. You know, and that was, you know, I have to give it to him, you know. It is shorter route. And it did basically say the same thing.
Wow.
But, you know, of course, what it leaves out is the sexual tension between the mother and the son, and, you know, kind of this Oedipus complex that he has, and it leaves out the pain and the suffering that he feels because she's married his father's brother after his father was murdered. And, of course, we later find out that the brother that she married was actually did kill him. So, murdered him with poison. So, I mean, talk about a great little script there. That's some juicy work there, you know. But you know, I couldn't help but laugh and see, and that's why I had to put him in Hollywood. It started out honestly as a couple jokes to friends, but then within 9 months, I gave birth to a full screenplay. Got absolutely nowhere with it, but then I ended up in the teaching in one of the places I got thrown out of. I had some kids putting up a mural on the back wall, and my lead artist was a young kid by the name of Matt, and another kid who was, you know, from a Bible-thumping family, got all uptight about it because they said it was Satan eating a woman's severed head, and I quickly corrected them because that was absolutely not true, that it was a demon biting a woman's severed head, which I thought was completely different from actually eating it, and it wasn't the devil. The devil was actually in another spot. I'm not sure how the rumor got around that it was the devil. Anyway, they didn't seem to think that I was funny. I thought it was pretty funny. But anyway, the principal, after being in the room numerous times, knowing exactly what we were doing and praising it, saying, you know, this is brilliant, you know, the kids are really involved, they were writing music, they were putting painting, they were writing poetry, writing stories, doing all kinds of fun, exciting things. And one kid could ruin it all. And they sent the maintenance team in to paint it over. Of course, the principal, being the charming fellow that he was, instead of owning up and saying, yeah, I backed her and I supported her, he threw me to the wolves and said, oh, well, gee, I'm shocked. Right. Anyway, and so the brother of Matt came in, and he took a look at the wall, and he wanted to photograph it. And we ended up sitting down and talking for a long time, and I realized that he was interested in film, theater, and acting and everything, and I asked him to read the script Billy Shakespeare. And I said, I'm interested in putting it on stage here in town. And he read it, and we got back together, and his name was Philip David Collins. And in a little cafe in Alto, on a piece of paper, we plotted out, because he basically told me that we could film this. And I don't know why I believed him, but I did, because I didn't have $2,000 to start filming, nor a camera, nor anybody who knew how to work a camera that I knew. But somehow somehow or another I believed him. And that really, honestly, if there's one thing I could tell anybody about my life, besides understanding that absolutely nobody knows anything more than you do, as far as how the world works, is that once you believe you can, you can. And that's the first step, because once you believe you can, you will figure out how.
Right.
And we did. We made the film in this community of about 7,000 people, and using local talent.
And I want to give you the opportunity to promote it. Where would somebody be able to see it or learn more about it?
You can see it on Amazon.com, and just type in Billy Shakespeare, and the movie will come up. And you can also see it on IndieReign.com, which is IndieReihn.com.
I gotta check that out.
Now,
there is a reference to my part in Friday the 13th in it too. So
you sold me already.
Enjoy that. Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anything that you want to add that we haven't touched on? And like I said when we were corresponding, I did not want to talk about Friday the 13th Part 5 the whole time. I wanted to really let everybody know what you are doing now, and how you've continued to be a creative person. I think you've done really well elaborating on all the cool things that you're up to. Any final thoughts, though?
No, I'm not sure what that would be. I guess, kind of the way I summed it up there is that we all have the capability of doing far more than what we might recognize early on. And whatever it is that you really want to do, forget what you should do and do what you really want. If you want to be a painter, if you want to be a dancer, do it. Your life will be much more rewarding, even if, the money isn't there for it to be fabulously rewarding. I mean, it would be nice to have money always follow your dreams, but it doesn't always. And, but honestly, it's really not that big of a deal. Do what feels right to you. Right now, I live out in southern New Mexico. My view is the kind of thing people only get to see on vacation. It's much harder to make a living and survive in this little town than it would be for me in a larger city. And who knows? I may decide that I want to go to Seattle or London one of these days. I opened or previewed Billy Shakespeare in London and stayed there for a month and absolutely loved the place.
Wow.
And I could certainly see myself spending some time there. But whatever you choose, don't mistake it as being permanent. It's just for the moment. Whether it's 3 years or 5 years, do it. Follow it. I've absolutely loved my time here. I was planning to come and kind of retire. I was going to teach and write my novels and stuff, but somehow or another I ended up back in filmmaking. Would that have happened if I had stayed in Dallas or Los Angeles and I had become a director? I don't know. I might not have. Wouldn't that be? It'd be interesting to find out what would be the trajectory of your life if you made different choices along the way. But this was just right for me, and I'm, very excited about continuing to film and shoot, whether it's music videos or which there's a lot of fun to do. You don't have to worry about sound. They have the sound for you. I love just doing the visuals. The sound is the most difficult part for making a film. Then, I'm going to keep making film, just living and breathing life forever long it lasts.
And I want to ask you, too, do you ever do any horror conventions because of your part in Friday the 13th Part 5?
I did one, and I was really nervous about doing it, but it happened to be in Arlington when I was still living in the Dallas area.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid there were going to be a lot of scary people there, not the fans being scary, but the people, in scary outfits, and
mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to go to scary things. It took me a long time to relax about Halloween because, people dress in those scary outfits. I don't like that. But, Halloween I enjoy now, but I don't know. I really haven't done anything beyond that one. I was invited to go to one on the East Coast, but I was teaching at the time, and I couldn't leave to get there. There were too many problems with it. I already had my responsibility with my kids and stuff. And then I've also been boycotting the airlines the last decade. Although after 9/11 and the violation of our rights as Americans and what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do has changed so much that I really didn't want to be involved in being searched and patted down and x-rayed and all the things that go with at the airport. And I was really surprised and saddened to see that people tolerate it. It's like, wow. I don't know if I can't remember who said it. He said that, we will not lose our freedom because there's not going to be like a big war, a big battle where somebody will come in and take control. We will just give up our rights little by little. The way it'll happen is that those in power, the people around us, will keep telling us we have things to fear. We have this to fear, so we have to do this to make us safer. And every time we, quote, make ourselves safer, we lose more and more of our freedom. And it's not right.
I knew you were.
I'll tell you what, I felt a lot more free in London than I did in the United States.
I knew you were a really cool hippie chick, and I really like that. I can respect that.
Hey, Kevin, are you saying that she's going to start singing I Got You, Babe?
I don't know. I would sing it with her if she did.
No, but I might start singing one of the anti-war anthems from the 60s and 70s. That would definitely be me.
And I will say, how
about 110 Soldier?
I grew up in the conservative South, and I still live in the conservative South, and I am very much still conservative, but I've changed a lot. I quote Chris Rock: "I'm probably the most conservative liberal you're going to meet, and the most liberal conservative." So you have to look at things objectively. I wanted to thank you for being on. You have no idea what it meant to Scott and I that you devoted some of your time. I know that you're busy, and just the fact that you came on and you related some of your experiences, some very personal experiences. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, Deborah.
Well, I very much enjoyed talking with you guys, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness on the questions, and not just, it wasn't a boring interview, and I appreciate that.
Oh, you definitely made the interview, and Scott and I didn't want to ask you the same questions that you get asked over and over again, and I really did try to send it in a direction as far as touching on Friday 5 a little bit, but just what you're doing now, because you do lead a very interesting life, and like I said, I think the best part about talking to you and even following you on Facebook and reading some of the things that you've said is that you are such a positive person.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, positive, non-judgmental, and I think everybody's life would be easier if we tried to be like that a little more, because we all have our flaws, and there's no template for life. There really isn't, and you just do the best you can.
Deborah, it's great to have you as a guest as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
And the fan side of me, I've got to geek out and say it was so awesome to talk to you. I cannot believe that I talked to Deborah Voorhees.
We talked to the naked chick from Friday the 13th. That was a joke.
But if you do a horror con, I want to plug Mad Monster Party in Charlotte, North Carolina. Please come to that. I would be there.
Okay.
It's a good one.
When is that?
It's typically in March, and it's I think this is the third year, and I never went to horror cons that much up until about 2010, and we went to Texas Frightmare Weekend in Dallas. Me and a buddy actually road tripped it to Dallas from Central North Carolina, where I live, and it was such a great experience. It was such a task to try to get there, though. It's like 1,100 miles one way, so you had to be dedicated. And we did it in like 2 days on 5-hour energy drinks and a lot of classic rock and roll. That's pretty much how we made it. But then we got Mad Monster Party in Charlotte, which is just at my back door. Charlotte is about 90 miles away from me, so I want to say this is the 4th year, and it's really gotten big. Check it out on the website. It's madmonsterparty.com. But if you're going to do one, that is a good one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, send me a link to it. I'll take a look.
I will. I definitely will. And enjoy the rest of your day. And like I said, it's been awesome to talk to you. It's been awesome to get to know you, and I appreciate your time so very much.
Thank you. Thank you both, you guys. You guys are great.
You too.
Take care.
You too. Take care,
Take
Deborah.
care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Her name is Angel. 4 years ago, she walked the streets of Hollywood. Today, she's graduating college.
When I was hustling the streets, I hated cops, even you.
But when the cop who changed her life is murdered.
The last thing Andrew said before he died was Angel.
Angel's back on the boulevard with a vengeance. Avenging Angel.
I'm looking for Andrew's killer.
The cops won't help her.
What the hell you think you're doing?
You were doing a job I wouldn't have to.
The mob wants her dead. The only ones she can turn to are the street people. Real friends like Kit Carson, Solly.
How you doing?
New friends like Johnny Glitter.
Delighted. Intoxicated.
The girls, and Little Buck. Together, they're the most unexpected.
At this point, you pull the trigger.
Crime-fighting force Hollywood has ever seen.
Those guys are pros.
I know how it costs you, pal.
Angel, the Hollywood story of the student by day, hooker by night continues.
You're more of a prostitute than I ever was.
Avenging Angel.
When you get to hell, tell him an angel sent you.
Avenging Angel. Her all-new Hollywood story.